A big hello and a very warm welcome to a special episode of Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. Today, we've decided to talk high definition and really understand where HD in India stands. It's not news when I say that high definition penetration in India is still quite low and currently stands at about 6 to 7 million homes versus the 80-odd million active digital pay TV homes in the country. We've also seen broadcasters actively ramping up their HD offering, betting on its growth. The growth of HD is not really up for debate, but its pace most definitely is. While undoubtedly HD's audiovisual experience is unparalleled, the fact that India just recently moved from analog to digital has made viewers mighty happy and content with standard definition. So the journey to high definition from standard definition seems to be much longer in India versus the rest of the world. But let's start with some facts. From 3 channels in 2010 to 70 active HD channels in India today. 12 million HD-enabled TV sets sold in India with approximately 10 million HD connections. HD packs on platforms are growing by 30%. Sports and movies drive maximum HD viewership, and approximately 8% of digital households are already HD households. Rio Olympics were telecasted by NBC in 4K, and Tokyo Olympics are all set to be telecast in 8K. And with that, I'm ready to kickstart this discussion, and joining me today to do just that is Sanjay Gupta, Vice President Marketing Nissan, Partho Dasgupta, CEO BARC India, Paolo Agostinelli, Chief Content and Business Development Officer Tata Sky. I really hope I've got that right, Paolo. And Karthi Marshan, Head of Marketing, Kotak Mahindra Bank. Thank you so much for joining me, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Paolo. Give me a sense, an understanding of, where HD stands in India today, and what is the adoption rate, and really how aware are people of really the HD experience, so to speak?
Thank you very much. Very relevant, in fact, indeed. And but I have to say, I probably disagree on the initial statement that India is a very different landscape than the rest of the world, even as far as HD is concerned. It's true, penetration today is probably low. And your numbers sounds familiar to us. So 6 to 7 million homes are actually today paying for HD.
Sure.
But that is, as you said, out of a denominator of an estimated 80 to 100 million digital homes. Well, the denominator will grow dramatically in the next 5 years. Approximately 170, 175 TV households now, which will become 200 million by 2020, according to most of the predictions.
Sure.
And by the time, will be probably all digital, or we're a very small fraction of analog. So the denominator is going to be much bigger.
Right.
And if the adoption of HD, which is currently at 5, 6, 7%, will go to barely 30%, 20 to 30%, which that will mean that we will see probably an increase of 5 to 6x in terms of volume and at retail value for platforms as well. Because if you consider today subscription as an average 100, 120 rupees per subscriber per month, even if you factor in a decline over the next 5 years with such an increase in volume, again, the retail value could be 5 to 6 times as big as today. And this is excluding advertising, which is another big opportunity.
Just to go back to the basics, would you say that today all television sets that are being sold from the manufacturer's end are HD ready?
I read something between 90 and 92%. Calendar year 15, if I'm not wrong, 92% of all televisions sold in India were either HD ready or full HD or more.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask you, I mean, you seem very optimistic about the growth, but the question I wanted to ask you is, a lot of people, although have already HD available to subscribe to, don't actually do so, although they can afford it, because the whole transition from analog to digital, just to SD, has been so recent that they're already overjoyed with their, quality viewing experience. Would you say that's a cause of concern, or that is delaying the growth per se?
No, I don't think so. I think, as many things, this is again happening very fast in India. So people will take a little bit of time to understand and realize the value of HD versus SD. And you're probably right. Now they come out of an analog world, so the first step is into SD. But they'll realize, and they'll realize pretty soon, and sooner, because the more people adopt HD, the more they will be conscious about what it is. So I think this will unfold pretty rapidly.
Sure, got it. Partho, so as a man who tracks all of this, what is your view of the adoption of HD? And let's not forget we're a price-sensitive market. How many people, even with HD-enabled television sets, and of course even the disposable income, are willing to take that extra step and to subscribe to HD channels?
Yeah, so I am slightly more optimistic than your numbers, what you gave out. I mean, BARC estimates says the latest kind of numbers of HD homes would be about 13 to 14 million. I think 2015 it was just about 1.3% which was HD. Right now it's doubled to almost 2. Otherwise also I think HD viewership growth has seen 2015 to 2016 about 73% growth. So it's a fairly strong growth that we are seeing, and I would think that it will continue purely because the way Indian fabric is, the NCCS A and B, which in India is growing very fast. As Paolo mentioned, our figures are that by around this year, which is 2016, India has about 183 million TV homes, which would go to fairly strong numbers in the coming years because there's a strong headroom for growth.
Okay, so tell me, what would you say are the main drivers for adoption of HD? Would it be sports and movies?
I would say sports and movies, and I think the quality of the screen, basically, what you watch. I think that I can say this as a consumer as well, not necessarily as BARC.
Yeah. Sure.
So it's purely, I think the experience of HD is very good.
So, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, we see the premium or the top end of the pyramid actually moving to HD. When do you see the critical mass also adopting HD?
See, India is a land of multiplicity. People are moving to digitization, then from SD to HD, and India is moving very fast. You will see all that. I think the more interesting part to consider is that many a times we see HD homes, people who have subscribed to HD.
Okay.
But a lot of family members are still watching HD.
Oh, you keep flipping back and forth?
No. Some family members always watch HD. Some family members never switch to HD. I know many of my friends or family who know the channel by number.
Yeah, okay.
So these guys don't get to see the HD at all. And you see that in our numbers also, you see that many parts of the family, they never switch to an HD feed of the same channel.
Although they have it.
Although they have it.
So is that ignorance or what is it?
More ignorance.
Ignorance.
More ignorance.
Is this something that you agree with?
Some of these channels are still different. The HD and the SD version of the channel are not necessarily simulcasted. Now, more and more, this is becoming the case, and I think this is for good. But in some circumstances, the channels are still different for a number of reasons, which can create some, question marks in the head of the consumers. Well, what if I happen to like more what the channel is broadcasting now in SD than in HD? I may end up watching the SD version of the channel, even if I'm still paying and expecting more value on HD.
Let me get in the marketers. So, Karthi, today, is HD even in your consideration set as an investment when you make a media investment?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, if I had the choice, I would advertise only on HD, because for a brand like mine, which is largely catering to the aspirational and the premium set, I'd be perfectly happy to buy an HD only package at the right price. Okay. Unfortunately, that choice is not being provided.
Yeah, so this right price is always, always the big million or billion dollar question. How about you, Sanjay?
I cannot take a single stand on this because in our kind of industry, we have multiple brands and multiple brands are catering to multiple segments. So then obviously the rural segment, I cannot say that I can force them to accept HD. So for them, SD is the in thing. And majority of my media value goes into that.
Okay.
And HD, going by the penetration and going by the consumption level itself, which is less than 5%.
Yeah.
So I cannot totally depend on HD. For me, the media investment still will go into SD. And as an icing on the cake, HD is what I will want to adopt.
So why are you looking at it as the icing, and why are you not looking at it as a, equal opportunity? Are there any issues that you see when it comes to HD investment, and if there are, please do bring it to the fore.
For me, it is how much value I am able to get from the money I am spending. So obviously, the more I spend on more masses is what will give me more value than just creating the premium segment.
Right.
The other way to differentiate is that maybe for my brand building, I may want to take HD, but maybe for my retails and my selling purposes, I want to get into SD. The other difference which I can bring in is that maybe at the time of when Asian Games got in,
Sure.
at that time color TVs were introduced.
Right.
But still the masses were on black and white. Color TVs were still the area where only the premium segment was interested in. So it is still a little time away,
Sure.
where for mass segment it will be getting adopted.
Tell me, is HD only a means of, a means to increase its ARPU by operators, or is there a viewership story there as well?
It's not just a question of ARPU. It's fundamentally about creating value, which then I think the industry stakeholders can extract and reinvest. There's value created by charging premium subscription, so the subscription fee for HD, but there's value created by selling advertising at a premium rate, for example. So fundamentally is people see value in this, and end users and investors are ready to pay for this.
Okay.
Of course, you have to invest in order to make this possible.
Yep.
In particular, the operators, there are incremental capex and incremental operating costs that we have to incur. The capex are related to the set-top boxes.
Sure.
It is true that the industrial cost of a set-top box for HD is getting closer to the industrial cost of an SD box, but there is still a significant difference. And this is capex. And then opex, because the bandwidth in our case, we use satellite as a transmission mean to broadcast an HD channel. If you want to do things well, you need at least 4 times the bandwidth that you allocate for an SD channel, and that's an operating cost. From a broadcaster perspective, I think it's much more, much less significant, because most of the new content is already produced, comes in HD, it's native, and there is a one-off marginal cost of upgrading the existing library of stuff.
Maybe the channels are still not able to position it or differentiate an HD from an SD. The way they are marketing it to us is not bringing out the value that we may want to see in an HD.
Okay.
So is it something which is really helping my consumer appreciate my product? That is not being told to me.
If I may step in as well, I think it has to do with the fact that the bulk of content we are seeing on television in India, we are agnostic actually. If you want to watch a soap opera, it doesn't matter so much whether I see the pimple on the actress's face or not, and that's the point. Whereas movies, sports, reality TV, that's where HD really sparkles, and that is the value of it, which is why you'll see a lot of the typically imported content is where the viewership has gravitated to HD already. The other point I think which is also very relevantly made is that a bulk of it is also just blind inertia more than ignorance. It's just we are used to doing things in a particular way. I'm used to typing 309 every night, and nothing, not the value of this great thing is making me budge as well. The viewer is already heavily used to watching HD on his other devices. So television has to actually do a defensive play by providing HD content, or else we all move to our other screens, and we're already enjoying it over
I think this is an interesting point, because it's true that the small screens have a higher resolution. So even if you're streaming not necessarily at real HD, your experience
is
seems
superior.
To be. But let's not forget that the main screen is a different experience altogether. So it's true. This is probably a stimulus for HD, adoption to happen faster, and I think it really requires broadcasters and platforms to cooperate more, probably work on the marketing and the proposition, and I think experience versus product and functionality is important, and there are other aspects in which broadcasters and operators can cooperate. At the end of the day, for example, it could be about creating more exclusive propositions which are exclusive to HD. So, for example, multi-audio options. We have channels which offer the possibility of watching in different audio feeds. Interesting enough, for long this has been confined to SD, under the assumption that this would cater only to a more massive segment, and that the premium HD guy wouldn't care about watching something on a Tamil feed or an Hindi feed if it's an English production. Which I think it's probably time to change, right? So if any, the HD channels and proposition should come with better options and a superior level of service.
Coming to you, Partho, and I've spoken to a lot of people who want me to ask you the contentious question of, measurement of HD and measurement of HD as a separate sample size altogether, where you only have that panel for HD. A, does that exist? According to me, doesn't, and it's, you just within your panel, wherever you have wherever you have an HD home, you record it. Is that actually true?
We measure HD from day one, okay, and you have a separate HD rating. All the HD channels get rated separately, and it is as per the normal sampling method. Why should it be not repeated?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I've done some detailed conversation on this,
yeah.
because because you change your sample size, right? When you change your sample, then let's assume that, let's say it's for simplicity's sake, let's say a sample of 10, right? So you change that after some time,
yeah.
obviously, because
yeah.
you change those people. Let's say out of that 10, 2 people were HD, okay? But when you change and do another 10, it's not essential 2 will be HD, it will come down to 1, but that's not accounted for.
No, it's not so simple. Very honestly, it's not so simple. It's a full, what technically is called stratified random sampling, right? It's a full statistical exercise where all kinds of variables are actually considered.
Okay.
So let me just simply say all that is represented.
So you're saying today HD is represented as it is
Yes,
in
as it is
actuality, in
that's
actuals?
Right. That's right.
Right? So
That's
you
right.
had absolutely you had no conversations with broadcasters who have invested in HD, or for that matter with marketers who come and say that there is no real measurement that we can do because, it's pretty random?
We have had conversations. Of course we have had conversations, and I think it's fairly clear. I mean, see, there will be different viewpoints. Ratings has always been a subject where there can be all kinds of viewpoints per se, but it's fairly well represented.
Would you agree with that, Karthi?
I actually wanted to throw a cat among the pigeons, which was, if we have anywhere between 10 to 14 million HD households, how hard can it be for you to get a return path of data to tell us on a census basis who's watching what, at the household level at least?
Well, you need to, number one, we happen to have our own internal measurement system, but we use it for our own internal purposes. So we want to understand better consumer preferences, and that we use that for programming. We fundamentally believe that there has to be one external independent super-Partho system that is accepted by everyone. So yes, we do. Of course we do. But as of now, it's for us.
Whoa, okay.
So this is, I would submit that this is a public good, at least for the marketer community. And
there is already one. The community is
No, but that's an interesting
not at the scale
one.
that he's ever going to be able to offer, right? And he's going to always have these challenges of, you're asking me to slice and dice too fine and it's never going to work, etc. Whereas at least for a subsection of marketeers who's catering, for example, only to HD, though obviously the same point applies to SD as well, but I'll limit my suit to HD and say, give me HD data.
But wouldn't that be beneficial for you too?
Well, listen, again, as I said, we have invested in this, and the purpose of this is to better understand our customers. We are in the business of providing the service to our customers. So, there are also issues related to, the data themselves, which, so we may one day decide to open this up. It's up for consideration. We will have to set rules and make it, available to everybody, non-discriminatory. So it's a complicated thing, which we may end up doing. I think for the industry now, it's good enough to focus on what is existing on BARC and making sure that this works better and better for the benefit of everyone.
In your terms, you are the leader. Then I think data which is coming to you, at least that should be available, not as something which is given by the company, but as an industry syndicate report kind of a thing, if a collaboration happens with some other companies also, because that is something for consumer benefit.
How about HD? I mean, as an investor or marketer who's investing or wants to invest in this, is it enough?
Statistical principles, if what he's saying is true, that HD is represented in proportion in his research sample, then I can't argue with that. I'm sure he'll never lie on television.
You want to say something?
As an advertiser, because my market is different, so I am actually
agnostic.
Yes, right. But then second point is, if it is only HD, which I am comparing, then obviously I have a full right to ask for that data.
Sure.
So BARC, if that is the association which stands for providing this data to advertiser as well as to all others,
Absolutely.
then BARC should run such kind of a study on its own as an independent. This will be a request which I can place with my association. So that is
this
what
data is available.
That's what they do.
It's available in the public domain. So there's, I'm not saying anything which is new.
What I am right now saying is that exclusive HD comparison, not inclusive of SD. Right now, what
you can
doing
get
is,
exclusive HD viewership data.
Yeah, that's what I do.
if that is available, then that is
Absolutely
great.
exclusive, channel by channel, minute by minute, HD viewership data, including his plus ones.
What is your percentage of HD subscribers today as a distributor?
Well, as we say, I think we can say that we are roughly 50% of our base is now an HD home, and out of this another percentage pay actually for HD. And also, I think 50% of our gross additions are happening on an HD box now. There is still a differential of 200 rupees between an HD and an SD box, but you know, it's becoming more and more massive.
So what would you say are 3 things that need to be addressed in the future to ensure that the growth of the adoption growth, let's say marketers' investments,
Yeah.
And broadly, you know, broadcasters, whether it be in terms of content,
Sure.
or it be in terms of, you know, making a stronger argument, all of it comes together and becomes better and bigger as a space.
So number one, I think would be to accelerate the pace of investment for creation of HD content. For example, regional HD, it's still at the very beginning. And I am very convinced, and all the data that we see are confirming this, that again, there is a huge demand and appetite for this kind of content also in HD. So supply more HD at a faster pace, it's number one. Number two, any improvement in the measurement of HD is welcome. You know, again, as we said, there is a system now which is in place since not too long, eventually, finally, which finally measures HD. You know, the more granular, the more robust, the stronger, the better it would be. And third, probably more cooperation between broadcasters and distributors. We can sit together and you know and cooperate in making sure that this proposition is getting through and it's perceived as such by end users.
Let me get your you know, 3-point agenda for HD and how it should improve itself.
So I think everything's already been covered. We love richer data, and we are aspirational always for richer data. So in that sense, we just have a wish list for BARC, saying give us more. And certainly the day when the set-top box can tell us even richer data.
I think the most important is making me feel important. So making the advertiser feel important. So giving me that difference of what HD stands or what HD can add value to me. Today I see that HD needs to have such kind of a value proposition stating to everyone that HD inside.
So would you say that HD per se has done a terrible job in marketing itself?
I would tend to say so, because today my consumer, eventually my buyer, is not able to differentiate between my ad running on an HD channel versus an SD channel. Unless he sees the difference, he cannot come back to me saying that yes, I liked your ad on an HD channel, that's why I am coming to you. So for me today it is the same old media. There is no difference.
Okay.
For me, number of screens may have increased. For me today the mobile may be acting as a better medium than maybe an HD channel versus an SD channel. So that is very important. Second point I will pick up from what Paolo said is that today market is just not in metros. Market is there in regions and beyond regions. TV is the only medium which has that kind of a penetration.
Sure.
So unless we make our consumers experience what it stands for, HD, I think this is the time, because now the market is now waking up.
Sure.
So this is the right time to make that difference.
I think more and more, like Paolo also said, I think first of all HD homes should watch HD. I mean, I think that itself will give much bigger numbers, if numbers is what people are looking for. The second thing would be, as we all spoke about, I think more marketing, more awareness is definitely would help, and more investment into the space. On the third side, I think we need to see more people actually, the digitization process is on. We need to see actually more transformation on the ground when people start actually adopting those boxes with all kinds of price reductions that Paolo is talking about.
And your prediction, because you're the numbers man, your prediction as to what will be close, let's say this year, in terms of number of in absolutes, not in terms of data or representation or anything. In terms of actuals, what do you think we'll close the year with?
2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be about 70 odd HD channels. I think 2016 or early 2017 by March.
And users?
Users, we are looking at about 13 to 14 million homes.
Homes.
Yeah.
With about a 6 to 7% growth rate year on year.
Yeah.
And on that note, thank you so much, gentlemen. This was truly a pleasure. I hope all of you enjoyed this discussion as much as I enjoyed it. And for all you viewers and more importantly, stakeholders of HD, hopefully you've taken notes and got some real takeaways from this rather enlightening discussion. On that note, thanks very much. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Until then, sayonara.